Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
Man, it feels great to be a Duck.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
Their competitors, they'll want to put the O on.
Three, got it!
We're going to compete to a standard every day.
The Oregon standard.
Rebound, and spin in! 1.4 to go!
The opportunity to play, put Oregon on your chest, should mean a great deal to you.
Unloads on one into left field, back toward the wall, gone!
This program is staged to compete and to win championships.
Oregon wins!
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, let's talk Oregon athletics.
The show will be on the rails for exactly 1 minute today. This is the 1 minute, so stick with us. We have Melyssa Lombardi, Oregon softball head coach, coming up because they're traveling to Mexico this week to open their season in Puerto Vallarta, and Senior Associate Athletic Director H.J. Cohn is with us. We're going to talk hoops, we're going to talk softball, we're going to talk football, we're going to talk signing day, we're going to talk everything about the Go Do Anything campaign, also about the Jake. Nothing else is going on today. H.J. Cohn is here, Senior Associate Athletic Director for the Duck Athletic Fund. The show is now off the rails. Hi.
How are you?
You? Good? I'm great.
You seem a little off the rails the way you just trying to scatter that conversation there. I just
Well, you
asked,
came
how
in-
are you? And you said, you, good, great,
Yeah, so
good,
you-
get on the bus.
So you came into the studio. I need everybody to know this. He walks into the studio, and he's on a mission. Like, we're saying, like, phone is still out. We're typing.
Hitting sleep. Hitting do not disturb.
Hitting no, that's good.
Yeah,
Do not disturb.
out of respect.
And then I said, how are you, H? And he goes, scattered, sincere.
That was the applause. That was referencing the applause that you gave me when I came in.
See, I thought that was
A
describing
famous Ken O'Neill line.
I thought that
scattered
was
but sincere, since 1 out of 5 of you, 20% actually clapped, which was generous, and I recognize who it was, so here we are.
Thank you. You know, that's interesting. So, see, I completely interpreted that you were scattered and sincere.
No, dialed.
But are you scattered and sincere?
No, dialed on. I'm ready.
So are you
Bring it.
dialed and sincere?
Yep.
Okay. Fans, if you have any questions in the comment section or if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, what do you want to know from H.J. Cohn today?
I want to know why we're not broadcasting from Puerto Vallarta with softball.
So I asked that question, and
Go to
Missy
Hawaii
Lombardi
with golf. I mean,
yeah, Missy Lombardi coming up for her now weekly appearance on the show. We asked that question. Don't worry.
yeah. Let's take this show on the road, big boy.
Yeah. You know, we used to do that more often. Then we built the studio.
Yeah.
We're a little more home based now.
Yeah.
I think we could probably come up with a mobile production option.
I think occasionally you should. You should go on the road.
Well, we used to go to practice.
Talking about practice?
Talk about practice. You know, though, look, a little bit behind the curtain here. I never liked actually doing the show at practice because, you know I'm loud. It's a character trait of mine. Sometimes when a coach is like, doing one's job and coaching, and you'd have to do the show talking in a voice like this.
Yeah, you got to be careful there.
Yeah, you don't want to get yelled at by
No, you
by
want to
any
be on the right
coaches.
side of the coaches when
That's
you're trying
right.
to do interviews and stuff.
That's
So
right.
I hear you.
That's right. By the way, Tip-Off Tuesday today, Grace Van Sluten, our featured student athlete, amazing individual, fabulous conversation with Terry Johns. Tip-Off Tuesday basketball coaches show coming your way. Also, Brian Fish was in the studio earlier, H. That was a fun conversation. Executive Director for men's basketball, and then head coach Kelly Graves. Let's talk about a little bit of hoops, shall we?
Yeah,
Big week.
Yeah, huge week. I talked to Fish for a while yesterday just about the home court advantage, and I think I would say I would summarize it like this, and I was thinking about this coming onto the show today is, our fans and what feedback we get is you have that core group of people that, whether it's in town and it's an affinity of theirs, they're coming. But the team we saw in November, in December, for that matter, is drastically different than what we're talking about the first 2 weeks or first week of February.
Yeah.
Healthy, significantly more healthy than we were. And you talk about the home court advantage that Matthew Knight has provided under Dana's tenure here. It is huge. I mean, the numbers don't lie. And what I'm hopeful for is Thursday night, Saturday night, 2 top of the tier programs. As it stands right now, I know USC is not ranked. I think they probably should be in the top 25. 17-6, I think, is their record. And so in a tougher league with a couple teams near the top. And then you have UCLA, who's notoriously at the top, and they are right now, nationally speaking, and have a chance to make a run deep into the tournament. Where we can combat that is that the teams that we played, I think we played them in early December, if I recall, right?
That's right.
Down there, that first Pac-12 series, a very different looking team. Now, granted, they're probably better as well, but we're to a point under coach, and a lot of people like to talk about it, how February comes around, March comes around, and keeps getting the team better. A lot of that is historically true, but also this year I think even more so because of the injuries. And so
agreed.
Would urge people to get out to Matthew Knight Arena on Thursday, and not just forward thinking to UCLA because it's the big name and the top 10 team and the history of that program, but USC under Andy has really turned that thing around the last handful of years and have a lot of good athletes, long, they can shoot it. And so to create that home court advantage, I think we're 5-7 in the last – or 5-2 in the last 7 games, and we've 4-1 in the last home games. So we're hitting that point where I think all of us are saying, hey, it's time to go. These are 2 huge games.
Agreed.
And getting a split at Arizona is no slouch. That's a tough trip to go on, as you know. Arizona, I think we played them really hard, and some takeaways of that game was right there. And then getting one at Arizona State, the shot before half by Bartholomew, really could have been a pivotal moment, not only in that game, maybe the season for all we know. We'll see what happens.
I'm glad you brought that up. So I said that was the key to the game because the way that started, and first of all, I should say, so Coach Altman, talking on the pregame show with me, he was like, we got to finish plays better. Like, that was a big focus heading into the Arizona State game. This is a great example of that. Rivaldo Soares dives for a ball that could have resulted in a layup for Arizona State. Instead of being down by maybe 8 at half, ball ends up with Keyshawn Bartholomew. He finishes a play, hits the 3, and the Ducks are down 3 at the half, scored the first 5 points of the second half, and never lost the lead.
Yeah, 5-point swing at the end of the half, going in there.
Big deal.
Tames the crowd. That changes the game. I know it's only one bucket. I can't tell you. I would think Coach would agree. That changes the whole narrative going into halftime and coming out of halftime with a little more buzz versus, man, we're getting banged up.
No, you listened to the post-game interview because he said that exact thing.
Oh, well, there you go. He's a lot smarter than me, though, so I'm just repeating what he said.
Well, I'm a professional regurgitator. That's all I do. I just listen to people that are smarter than me and then say it again.
I just, again, focusing on what is coming up. I know it's an 8 p.m. tip-off. That place should be going on Thursday night and certainly on Saturday for 2 big-time program names that are coming into our backyard with a team that we have that is trending the right way.
Well, and here's the other thing. This is an odd sequencing for basketball because of the way the 20-game schedule is working with you play the one-off at UCLA in December, as you alluded to. This is the only time that Oregon plays USC. That can be a big deal in the conference standings because right now the Trojans are 9-3, the Ducks are 8-5, Utah's a half game above the Ducks at 9-5, so Oregon officially in 5th place. But with the way the tiebreakers work, because Oregon's 2-0 against Utah, this is huge because if you're in the top 4, that makes a huge difference moving forward. So, yeah, just to put it in context, like, I said this on December 6th, I think, when we did the show after the UCLA game. Talk to me after the second UCLA game because it's going to be a different season at that point. It always is. Every program could say that, but certainly with the injuries, it's made a difference. And so fans, I feel like there is a little bit more buzz around it.
I totally do. I mean, I'm kind of in the day-to-day talking to folks and hearing feedback and getting a pulse. You're probably getting some of it from the show, but also social media. I think the style of play that they've really stepped into in the last handful of games, call it last month even, has been more attractive to fans, especially at home court, getting them excited when there's, transition offense, blocks, defense, diving on the floor, charges. That's certainly attractive from a fan perspective, and they get involved and get excited and get behind that. And I think we've seen that, and what that's turned into is wins too, right? Especially when we're talking about at Matthew Knight Arena. So, again, USC might not be ranked. Don't be fooled by that. They are a very good team, and UCLA, we know exactly what they are.
And USC has given Oregon problems the last couple of years, actually. You look at so here's something that was fascinating to me, and I know you'll love talking about this. Coach Altman wins his 150th Pac-12 game. Only the 11th coach in the history of the league to ever do that earlier this year. And in the Pac-12 era, he was the second fastest to ever get to 150 wins. Just puts in context how successful the program's been. And what's amazing to me is you go look at his regular season record against every team in the conference. He's got a winning record against everybody but Colorado, and even Colorado in regular season games, it's darn close. There are not a lot of coaches that can say that. And he would tell you that Well, first of all, he would tell you they could have gotten to 150 wins faster because that's Coach Altman in a nutshell. But he would also tell you that the fans have made a big difference in that.
Yeah.
The pit crew having a home court advantage. And look, he also, I think, would say the Ducks have not been as good at home in recent years.
No, he
this
has
is a
said
chance
that.
this is a chance to turn that.
Yeah, he has said that, and I respect him a lot for acknowledging that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we got to be better. And but that being said, that was 3-4 weeks ago, and they have been better.
They have
and
been.
So this is a very different team. If you're looking at it from this season, well, I would argue, don't even worry about the season per se. Focus on the more recent games and saying, okay, it's a very different team. The students, I expect them to show out Thursday and Saturday night. Those are they've been great all year. I want to commend them. They've been absolutely fantastic. But when you look at this team, what it is now, even 3 weeks ago, a month ago, is very different.
Yeah.
We're healthy. They're engaged. I think there's a sense of urgency, and you're seeing that translate. And kudos to the coaching staff for getting that into them, and we're seeing it.
The way the pit crew can influence a game. It's funny, like on the broadcast, I talk about that, but it's really hard for me to quantify, how the pit crew can influence a game. You've been at more basketball games in your life than I have been at. You've been on the bench. You've been amongst season ticket holders. I know you've probably walked through the pit crew once or twice in your time. How do you explain the way the pit crew can influence a game?
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on personalities of the guys. I look at Waldo, for example.
Yeah.
He certainly feeds off of it. Dante feeds off of it. There's guys on every team. You look back at Troy Dye, right? It's no secret when Shout comes on and the student section gets going. So I think every team has a different personality. And again, I would go back, and not to beat a dead horse, but I would argue that personality of the team is very different now than it was in December.
Yeah.
Not healthy, struggling a little bit offensively, and not, being relating, I guess, with the student section to the fans in general. That is so far out the door.
Right.
And what they've done a great job of is the student section never gave up. They've continued to show up. And when they get involved, our guys feed off of that. And so the impact they have is not necessarily on referees, but creating an atmosphere, just like atmospheres we faced last weekend. I mean, Arizona, you know what you're walking into. Every day, no matter what, they're going to have a full house. Arizona State, you sometimes don't know, but they can really get going. And they did after talking to some coaches yesterday. I said, how was the ASU game? Arizona, we already know what that environment's like. I said ASU was tough.
Yeah, almost 10,000 people.
And that key part of the last second three-pointer at the end of the first half really quieted them down, and then coming out in the second half and getting those 5 straight just changes the narrative of a game. And that showed in the outcome. And so our fans – I think our general fans and season ticket holders feed off the student section as well. Football, baseball, basketball, you name it. And I hope that's the case on Thursday night.
Me too. 8 o'clock. It's also on ESPN too, and then the UCLA game's on ESPN. So it is a national TV audience. When you're, quote, under consideration for the bubble and projections and all these things that people like me, I don't know if you keep track of it as much as I do.
Not until March.
I keep track of it in January. Keeping track of those things, though, it makes it fun, right? It keeps you in the conversation, and that's where the Ducks are. They're in the conversation, and getting some wins here would certainly make a huge difference. All right, I want to get a timeout. When we come back, we've got a big event tonight, actually, at Matthew Knight Arena. Matthew Knight Arena is hosting a lot of big events right now. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about that coming up. More Duck Insider with H.J. Cohn, and we actually stayed on the tracks. That was pretty good. We're back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Unused used prescription opioid pain medicines can spell trouble. They can spell risk if taken by someone they weren't prescribed for, harm if accidentally taken by a child or pet, or overdose if they're not used as directed. Safely dispose of opioids before they can hurt your family. Find a drug take-back option such as medicine drop boxes. You may find these in your community at local pharmacies or police stations. Visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it is Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. He is H.J. Cohn, the Senior Associate Athletic Director in charge of the Duck Athletic Fund, which is a fancy way of saying he's an Oregon superfan and he gets paid for it. Fair description?
Yeah, that's all it is. Easy as that.
There's nothing else that goes on. Not a thing. Yeah, good description. Hey, one question that came in, and I've seen this from a few people, asking about, are we going to do the game day posters like you see behind me, those of you that are watching for other sports? And my answer is I hope so. This was a project that was spearheaded by Will Patterson, who's the Director of Communications for Oregon men's basketball, working with students on campus from the School of Product Design to put these together. And so I do hope that they're going to come to other sports. And I have a feeling with the success of a program like this, and remember, first 100 fans get the unique poster for every home game. So if you're one of the first 100, you get a printed copy of it. You can also download all of them for your own personal use. High-res PDFs are available on Goducks.com for every one of them. I love stuff like this. You know, this is like when I was a kid and I would look on, you know, like say for example, like a professional baseball team, right? Go to the Giants or the A's games, and I'd be like, oh, it's bobblehead day. I'm gonna go that day.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of what these are. They're cool. They're unique. It's awesome.
No, they've done a great job. The feedback we've gotten on those is pretty cool. And I reached out and I said, hey, there's someone really important needs one. They're like, sorry, we're out. Download the PDF and go to the framing store.
So you downloaded the PDF and took it to the Oregon print shop and took care of it.
Yeah, I was on Coburg Road at the framing store.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that sounds right. But so to answer that question, yeah, I do hope that is going to be a thing moving forward. I also saw the one question about volleyball and the roster turnover. We'll get to that in just a little while. H.J. Cohn joining us. Yeah, so it's a big night at Matthew Knight Arena. So tell us a little bit about how it went on signing day. Big celebration at the Nike World Headquarters up in Portland. I'll be honest, I missed it because I was with the basketball team in Tucson.
Yeah.
It was an okay trip.
That's a great trip. A split down there right now, 2 tough teams is good. But
I would have rather been there for Saturday, not for Thursday. Though.
Yeah, valid point. Yeah. But to your original question, up last week in Portland was incredible. When we talk about, and I talked to some of our football student athletes about this when I was up there, is when they were recruited, and obviously this is a pretty lob of a question, did the coach or the staff talk about our partnership with Nike? And they said, of course. And I said, so when we talk about that, and that's across all sports, it's no secret. We embrace it. We are fortunate to be able to talk about that relationship and what that means.
Sure.
But what we do preach here, and this stems from our leader with Rob Mullins, is we really try and create the best student-athlete experience. And that's no secret. We've all heard that. But what does that look like outside of wins on the field or in the gym or whatever? And part of that for last Wednesday was up at Nike and taking the entire football team up there, the entire staff. And not only touring the campus of what that looks like, which there's a lot of similarities between what we've done down here from a capital standpoint, what they've done up there, but the innovation and what does it mean to be a Nike professional athlete. And so they got to hear from guest speakers and Nike professionals about what that means. And so, yes, while we were up there to celebrate signing day with 700 fans at Nike World Headquarters, Tiger Woods Theater, they also the box that was checked was that student-athlete experience for us is saying, awesome. Yeah, we do have a partnership, and this is what it looks like, and we want to show it to you. So that was, again, a huge success, a ton of people throughout the department. I don't want to get into names because there were so many groups that played a pivotal role, 6 months in planning, and the feedback we've gotten has just been tremendous. I think our fans really enjoyed spending time with student-athletes,
sure,
coaches, alums. So the feedback overall was great there. Fast forward to tonight at Matthew Knight Arena here in Eugene, National Signing Day, and so the second one, if you will. and again, another celebratory event. And I think what we've changed our thought process a little bit is so much used to be, let's put up 30 minutes of highlights of 17-year-olds outrunning east-west or plowing down the field because they're twice the size of the high school kids they're playing against.
Yeah.
And you hear the oohs and ahs of a pancake or a kid that just ran fast down past them. Well, that's great. Don't get me wrong. We're recruiting stellar student athletes. But what we've really changed and molded that into is an experience and a show.
Yep.
And so I look forward to tonight because it's not only going to highlight the incoming, whether it be freshmen, transfers, but additionally getting to know our current team, our current staff, talking about last season, talking about the future, talking about what recruiting looks like, what does NIL look like. There's a lot of narratives in college athletics. So really a celebration overarching Oregon football tonight versus just a focus on recruiting.
Yeah, and I love the shift because, it was sort of essential to shift it that way because most of the recruiting class now is in December. But then it's not complete until we get to the month of February. So I always felt like people would ask, like, well, how come we don't do, for example, like the special show in the morning where we talk about all the recruits? And I'd say, well, it's hard to do so when the class isn't done.
Yeah,
it's not complete.
The class is
February.
constantly changing.
It is
in any sport, right? I mean, that's something that I think is it is new. It's a little more loud these days between social media and what have you, and that's okay. I think our fans and internally we have to accept that at some level and recognize that what needs to be done and what's best for the student athlete is different in every single situation.
No doubt.
And unless you know the full story, it's easy to judge behind a computer, keyboard, or whatever. I would suggest that as mature people, we give them the best opportunity and wish them luck if somebody's going, and if somebody's coming, we welcome them with open arms. And I see it all over. Once a duck, always a duck. Well, I hope we really live by that versus being emotionally upset when a student athlete leaves for reasons we might not know about.
Right.
And so that's happening across all sports. It's part of the new college athletics. But that doesn't change that they're still wearing Oregon on the front, and this is people's alma mater and a place they've supported emotionally, financially for a long time.
That's well said. I think about it a lot, that just the way that college athletics has morphed and changed. We're all kind of along for the ride, and remembering everything you just said, I'm going to take that, clip it, and use it over and over again, if that's okay with you.
Good.
That sounds great, because you said it better than I can say it, and let's be honest, if you say it means more than if I say it, H, so this is good. Thank you for that.
You can regurgitate like you said.
Exactly. See? He's coachable, everybody. This is great. I do want to ask you, though, about, like, the celebration aspect, because I think that's so cool, right? Like, in the past, there's been a bunch of different events across the state. It always felt very spread out, but it was one night. Now you get the chance to really sort of centralize, I feel like, with one event in Portland and then almost a week later an event in Eugene. I feel like the feedback must have been positive for you guys making sort of a logistical shift to make it more of that big show and celebration.
Yeah, I think one thing we've looked at, and I'm a big believer of, adapt or die, and you really have to look at it holistically. So certainly we have fans all over the state, all over the Northwest, all over the country, and so on. How do we utilize our resources, not only financially but time of coaches a lot in this case, and the student athletes as it pertains to signing day, current student athletes on the football team. How do we utilize that and maximize that from an event standpoint? And there's only so much time. And so where I'm going with that is, yes, while we used to do something in Southern Oregon and Central Oregon and Salem and continues on, we also have to look at it and say, okay, where can we get the most bang for our buck, knowing that that's just right now, but we have intentions of doing something still in May in Southern Oregon.
Great.
And in June in Central Oregon and so forth. So it was really a look in the mirror of saying, how do we maximize the entirety of our state for the most part, and even Northern California, Southern California, Ducks in the Desert. We did something in Arizona last year, and take a step back and say, okay, are we really doing this the right way, or are we just doing this because we've done it and it's just comfortable?
Yeah.
And when we did look at that, it made sense to combine a couple events, potentially live streaming some in the future, potentially not. You really got to just take a holistic approach and say, are we doing it the right way or not? And that's why we've made those changes, and it's been successful so far.
I've been talking about it on the show, but if you've missed it, goducks.com/NSD23 for more of what we're talking about with the event tonight, if you're tuned in here live on Tuesday. And then the auction is going on as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to hit on that. There's some fun pieces up for bid to support student athletes in the U of O.
Yeah, there's some really actually remarkable pieces thanks to a few supporters of ours, and I don't want to say them because I don't know if they want it out there, so out of respect, but they've been generous in supporting us in some auction items that are one of a kind in some sense. So I would encourage people to, at minimum, go look at the website and see if there's something that gets you excited, and in an area that you can support. But the auction's going great. Tonight should be a lot of fun, and we'll wrap up our 2 signing day events and then look forward to spring sports, to your point, starting right around the corner in the thick of men's and women's basketball. You got Pac-12 tournaments coming up. Ducks in the Desert. We got our season ticket renewal deadline. It was extended for football till this Friday.
So it's Friday.
We got on sales. You got spring sports. There's just a lot.
Season ticket renewal Friday for Oregon football.
Final deadline.
What else should people know about upcoming football news? Anything?
Well, spring game, I want to say
April 29th.
That's out there now. And, with Coach Lanning, when he came in and some previous regimes that he'd been on, spring games were a big deal. And he really challenged the department in a respectful manner of why can't this be bigger? Why can't we get more alums back? Why can't we tag on to this event and do something Friday night?
Yeah.
And the concert last year, which I'm sure gives Mike Duncan nightmares trying to put a concert on in 4 days, but we'll be a little more prepared this year. But there's all those things, and so the spring game is certainly something that we're all excited for. It's no secret coming out of COVID. I think people are attracted to do something and be at places, and we were talking about it with the pit crew and saying, we had COVID, we lost it, and it kind of did a little reset in some sense. Some people are still not welcome or open to coming back, which I understand, but a lot of people are saying, gosh, it was kind of a nice hiatus, but I missed it a lot.
Yeah.
And that goes for football season as well, with the momentum that Coach Lanning and staff has built as you enter into spring game, getting a chance to see the guys, and then before you know it, fall will be here.
Weirdest thing I've ever done in my career is be walking through the seats that should be filled by season ticket holders at Autzen Stadium doing a broadcast.
Yeah.
Still,
Watching
I have nightmares
the game from
about
home games a mile away from my house was really weird.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I have nightmares about that to this day. This has been great, H. Thanks for everything. I do want to tell everybody that H.J. is currently the leading bidder for the broadcast shadowing experience for one of the non-conference games during this year. So please do me a favor and outbid H.J. Is that fair?
Does it come with socks?
No.
For the winning
No. I'm working on something sock-related with Coach Ulmer for next year, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm just going to put this out into the world. I've been trying to come up with, fun things to do because this is what I do for a living. And I'm debating having some sort of, challenge about season ticket holders for volleyball, something like that. And maybe if we get to certain tiers, Coach Ulmer has to do certain things. I think that coaching in socks and sandals should be on the list. Maybe socks that have his own face on them, like we gave away last year that were very hot commodity. I also would love to see him dye his hair. Don't think he would ever do that. Green and yellow, though, I feel like would be good colors for the coach who has arguably the best hair in the department.
Yeah, him and Chris Mueller. But
what else you got?
I don't know. It's great you're throwing out things for others to do.
Yeah, isn't that
I'm
nice?
going to talk to Coach Ulmer and see if he has any ideas.
Don't worry, I texted him and he said we're brainstorming.
Yeah, well, good luck because you got Nelly in that room. That's trouble.
Yeah, no doubt. Nelly's the director of operations for Oregon volleyball and is, let's just say she was instrumental in our surprise of Coach Ulmer's head being on socks, and it was great. What else should fans know? Anything exciting about football, basketball? And then I got a couple follow-ups for you.
No, nothing. I don't think that we didn't cover already. Get to basketball this week if we can. Renew your tickets. We need the support. It's important for our department, not only to continue the momentum and wearing that O proudly like we all do, but also for our student-athlete experience and that home field and home court advantage.
I do want to ask you about breaking ground on the Jake. That was really cool last week. If you missed the news, the Jake, the new Oregon golf facility, shovels are in the ground, H.J.
Yeah, shovels are. It's. I laugh a little bit. It's kind of funny because when you're doing a project outside that includes excavation and whatnot, a lot of it's weather dependent. So it kind of snuck up on us, to be honest. And thanks to Jody, she kind of nudged me a little and said, "Hey, are we breaking ground?" I was like, "I don't think so. I think we're still a couple weeks out." And then we saw a couple hours later we were, and so we scrambled and we're like, "No, they want to go because the weather's good and there's a window." And you take advantage of that window so you can get the project done in a timely manner. So
and get the nice pictures.
And get
thank you for that. For
pretty
our
photos,
purposes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So no, really, really excited for the coaches, the student athletes, in our department as a whole. Certainly a project that has been a long time coming. We've been talking about how do we do it, and a big part of that was just budget restraints and figuring out how are we going to fund this. And fortunately, we've had a lot of donors step up in a meaningful way that it will be fully privately funded with philanthropic donations. And so we're really proud of that and breaking ground. And, I don't want to jinx it, but certainly should be done by the end of this calendar year, if not sooner.
Love that. So the Jake officially breaking ground. And some of it, so I got to tell you, Alexis Cross was on the show yesterday. great conversation talking about the Go Do Anything campaign.
Yeah.
And sort of in conjunction with the Jake and all the philanthropy that makes everything around here possible. The Go Do Anything campaign, H, just can you speak to just how awesome of a campaign it's been and hitting over 15 million? That's quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, well, it starts with the people doing it behind the scenes, and Lexi's right at the top of that list. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Lisa Peterson and Mackenzie Fancher. I mean, those are the people behind the scenes, and many more. I don't want to single them out and not include others, but a collective effort. But when Title IX was approaching, we kind of got in a room and huddled up, said, all right, let's look at some history. We have women in flight. That's something we're certainly and will always be proud of. That's here for a long time.
Yeah.
That started in 2013. And so we kind of had this baseline to go off of. We kind of had a little bit of the playbook, which felt good. We felt we were prepared to announce a campaign in conjunction with the 50th anniversary where other institutions may not be. It's always I get the biggest grin on my face when I get or hear about other schools calling saying, how did you do that?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, just send us over an email. I'm like, well, it's not that easy. It took a year to even get the boots going on that. So when you factor in all that and you look to the end of the Title IX campaign and wrapping that up and surpassing 15 million, which consists of a lot of different style of gifts. I mean, estate gifts that are not realized, restricted gifts of scholarships, capital support. There's a number of gifts in there, multi-year pledges. It makes you smile. It makes you know, Oregon continues to lead on a national front, not only from our branding and our performance on the field and on the court, but also in our mission. And that student-athlete experience, putting that first and saying, okay, let's look at this from a year and see what we can do. And our initial goal of $5 million, Rob challenging us to why not 9? And we didn't have a great answer of why not. It was just a scary number to put out there.
Yeah.
And then to surpass 15 million, again, combined with a number of types of gifts. We don't have 15 million cash on the door, but the commitment shown by the donors and fans of all gift ranges, $25 to 7-figure gifts totaling over 15 million, is pretty remarkable.
Awesome. It's special. Is what it is, honestly. That's really cool. So the Go Do Anything campaign, if you're curious more of what we're talking about, yesterday's show, either via the OSN podcast or go back and watch the show on demand, because Lexi Cross was outstanding talking about it. Really, really special stuff. I want to leave you with this, because one of our like ongoing projects here in the studios, we're kind of organizing our archives and making sure that they're not just on like 1 or 2 hard drives, and we're going to have the digital history, if you will, of everything around the department. Well, it just so happens that yesterday, what do we come across but the Women in Flight dinner that launched Women in Flight in 2013. And I just thought back to myself like, man, that seems like it was a long time ago. It really wasn't. But what a special night. Now getting a chance to talk about something like the Go Do Anything campaign. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing where it's gone. I've told this story probably on here a handful of times, but those moments that stick out to you, and certainly the I'll call it the evening where the idea came about and the challenge came from Dave Patrone of I'm trying to do something, I want to do something, but I can't get my hands wrapped around it.
Yeah.
And we came back and presented something. He's like, that's it. So we move forward. And, then the likes of you're watching the Olympics and a worldwide viewed sport and event, and you see one of our student athletes who qualified for the Olympics come out and is wearing a Women in Flight top before she runs. Those little moments stick out of just the power of it. And then, we have constant events going throughout the year tied to it. We just had one in November to celebrate the Title IX campaign and the messaging and the power behind it.
Yeah.
When you left that event was just like, you get chills. You're just like, that we're doing something right. And you can't always quantify or clarify what it is, but in your heart of hearts, you're doing something right, not only for our student athletes, but this community and the University of Oregon.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you courtside. Headset's yours if you want it Thursday.
Great.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Okay. It's going to be the best broadcast of the year. 7:30 pregame with H.J. Cohn on the Oregon Sports Network. Thank you again, H. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're going to get time out. When we come back, I will answer that question about volleyball roster and the portal. Also, Coach Lombardi coming up. Softball season's here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22. At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
Dear winter, Toyota's got 20 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, and that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action, and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places.
Based on manufacturer's websites as of 11/21/22.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. So I got a question on Twitter, and I think it's a good one worth asking from @Cascadian_. Had to make sure I got the underscore in there. Asking about volleyball and recruiting and roster. So it's a couple things. When players exit, when student athletes exit the program, I tend not to discuss it much on Duck Insider because I don't have a comment from the coaches. That's usually just been my philosophy. Now, that being said, if one of them does announce where they're going, we usually say, hey, congratulations, as H.J. was kind of alluding to there. But in terms of what the official volleyball roster looks like heading into the spring, the truth is I don't know, and sometimes neither do the coaches at this point, which is why I sort of wait until the season is upon us to really discuss it. And the example that I can give you in terms of volleyball, it's actually very similar to baseball. There is not, if you look on GoDucks.com, a roster that includes all of the new additions to Oregon baseball as of yet, because some of them may not make the cut heading into the season. It's also potentially true for Oregon volleyball and other sports. So I hope that sheds some light on the question as to why I don't do like a deep dive into every player that announces on Instagram or Twitter that they're going to transfer, because a lot of times I don't know what the roster is exactly going to look like. I will also say that it is also still possible that players enter the transfer portal and they may still be on the roster moving forward. They don't have to depart. Still one of the rules within the NCAA. Do we see that happen very often? No. That's part of why I don't get into the conjecture of it on the show. When we come back, it's time to talk softball with Melyssa Lombardi. The Oregon head coach will be with us here in the Country Financial Studio, heading to Mexico this week. That's right after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, we're all about protecting our home turf here in Eugene. You should do the same for your home with Country Financial Insurance. Most home insurance doesn't account for inflation, but with Country Financial, yours can. If something happens to your home, make sure you can rebuild the same house in the same place. Call a local representative or 866-COUNTRY and get a solid defense for your home. Home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Casualty Insurance Company, or Country Preferred Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois. Property must meet age and condition requirements, which vary by state.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's our roads. It's our safety. Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
I've been driving trucks for a long time, and safety is my #1 priority. I know that my truck has huge blind spots. That's why I remember to check my mirrors often for smaller vehicles. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're behind the wheel, try to avoid lingering in those blind spots. It can be dangerous. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. It is officially softball season. It's week 1, going to Puerto Vallarta. Well done. That's great scheduling by the head coach. Melyssa Lombardi joins us. Coach, how are things?
Good.
Good scheduling.
Yes, thank you.
Was that all you? Like, I got to ask the honest question. Was this like, let's go to Mexico, everybody?
I don't think anybody complained, so I think we're good.
Let's start actually with that. I mean, the schedule. I feel like every year there's some highlights. There's maybe some games that fans circle, and you always put together a tough schedule. What do you like about your schedule this year?
It's. I feel like we're just continuing from last year. Last year we had the #1 toughest schedule almost the entire year.
Yeah.
I think we finished 2nd or 3rd. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I would expect for us to have a schedule identical to that again this year.
So that's a goal of yours, I take it. Like, you like scheduling that way?
I think we have to. I think we got to find out where we are at the beginning of the year in order for us to be ready to go in such a tough conference, and then to be prepared conference-wise to go into a tough postseason.
Yeah. So I want to read a couple of the names in the Puerto Vallarta Challenge, okay? Just to put this in context. Opening with Maryland, 29-23 last year. Wisconsin, 30-21 on Friday. Then number 3, Oklahoma State. They were 48-14 last year. Ole Miss 41-19, and North Dakota State, I feel like kind of a sneaky good team at 30-23. So I just want to point out that all of those teams winning records from a year ago. I guess that's why you schedule a tournament like this.
Yes, I've been to Puerto Vallarta a couple times now, and anytime you go there, if you are going to commit to that tournament, you've got to be ready to come out of the gate and ready to play. You're going to always play tough competition in that tournament.
Tell us about the offseason. Let's go back in time a little bit. Update fans. What'd you do in the offseason?
You know, one thing that was pretty cool about this team is just their commitment to their fitness and to their strength and conditioning over the summer. That from there carried into the fall and really allowed us to, you know, it's like, what is your foundation like in the fall? And if it's low, then we have to start low and build up, build up, build up. Where if your foundation is high, we're able to start at a high level and go in the fall. And that's what they did by coming in physically fit. Not that they haven't come in physically fit before, but it was different this time around for them.
How valuable is it to have returners with that in mind? You know, like people that are familiar with what you're trying to do in an off-season program.
It's extremely valuable. For us, everything starts in the weight room. So from there, if I have the strength, the power, the quickness, then from there it trickles out onto the field. You could see this fall, the flight of our ball is going further. I think you're going to see us turn a lot of double plays this year. I just think you're going to see what we did in the weight room, the commitment in the weight room really shine on the field.
What's your focus when you're building a program with your staff? I mean, as a head coach, like, what are the priorities for an off-season strength and conditioning program?
It's a program that obviously is going to push them, and I think Coach KJ does a tremendous job with our team. What I really love is that she played college softball, and she is a strength coach. So our athletes, when they come into the weight room, they know they're doing specific things that correlate to what we do out on the field. And so the buy-in is just, who's not going to buy into that?
Yeah.
She's got great buy-in with them, and just our leaders know, you know, how important the weight room is for them as individuals, as a team, to be pushed and to be pushed hard and to look to your left, to look to your right and see that we're all doing the same thing and how it's going to benefit us. So you could really see that from this group.
How valuable is that as a head coach since you're not involved as much in the off-season plan, which I imagine, or I should say in the program, like they're in person. First of all, how maddening is that as a head coach, regardless of rules, just because you're not around the team as much as the strength coaches are? But then two, you have a lot of confidence in the strength staff, it sounds like.
For sure. For me, I'm not here to like multi-manage our, like my assistants and our strength, team and our trainer and whatnot. I trust everybody that's in our program. I think we've got an unbelievable staff and the commitment, the time that they put into their craft as coaches, you could see that trickle down into our athletes. I think we have a great leadership group within our team. We have a lot of elders as well. So if we're doing things right, we're not having to over-manage. They understand what they need to do.
Yeah, makes sense. Melyssa Lombardi joining us. Okay, leadership. Who do you like? Who's leading this team right now?
You think of the three that have been here since version 1.
Yeah.
And I love that. I can't believe we're in our 5th year. But you think of Kate and you think of Allie and Tara, and they've been here with me since day 1. And had a tough first year, and we survived it, got through it, and then you've just seen us getting better and better and compete each year. We went to postseason the first time, and not one person on the team had ever been to postseason. So this group, they're hungry. They want to finish a certain way with this being their last year, and I think they've done a really good job of leading our team.
You talk about experience. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, like with roster breakdown, so 5 fifth years on the team, 3 seniors, 5 juniors, 7 sophomores, and then 1 freshman. How valuable is it, especially in today's world where rosters have maybe been able to be extended a little bit because still COVID roster management, which I imagine is just an entire new Tetris puzzle for you to figure out. How valuable is that experience, though, to have some 5th years that are older players for you?
I just think it's huge because for us as coaches, I think we can only tell our athletes so much. I think it's got to come from within. And if you have elders that are experienced and have been there and have done that, and they're coming to you saying, look, this is what we need to do, I just think it just helps even more with the buy-in. So we've worked really, really hard on our culture, off the field, on the field. I think these guys really enjoy playing with each other, and they want to play for each other.
I do want to ask you about one individual, or really a few individuals, and you mentioned Allie Bunker. But preseason list, we were talking about it on the show last week, and I don't know if the preseason lists mean anything to people other than like me, because it gives me something to talk about, but she's highly recognized. On all the preseason lists, you're going to see Allie Bunker, one of the best players in the country. That's nice to have on your roster.
Yeah, for sure. She's worked really hard. She is an excellent second baseman. I think she's an excellent hitter. I think she is clutch in everything she does, which that is hard to find. You can have good athletes, but then when they need to clutch up in moments, maybe not so much. And I think she's clutch.
Yeah.
And I think what she has done for this program, I think what she's going to leave this program, behind, it's going to be better than than she found it. I think the influence that she has on our younger athletes to get them to perform at a high level, I'm thankful for her, and I'm excited for this year.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see her really, she goes for it every year, but it's just something different when it's your final year.
Yeah. It is different when it's your final year, right? When that senior year kicks in and it's like the last time you're going to be putting on the uniform. How many student athletes have we heard over the years say that changes things for sure? Part 2 of our conversation with Coach Lombardi. We actually talked with her a lot longer than we usually do for season preview. We're going to lead off Wednesday's show with that tomorrow. When we come back, some updates on the Oregon pit crew. They've been great this year. We heard H.J. talking about that. Also, Owen Diodati, one of the new additions to Oregon baseball as they continue their fall practice schedule. That's on the horizon after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, our all-inclusive event pricing allows us to take care of all of the details while you enjoy your event. Our wedding garden, expansive grounds, ballroom, and meeting rooms can accommodate any size event and come complete with full catering and service staff. From weddings to business and social events, Shadow Hills offers the benefits of a resort atmosphere and the peace of a country setting just minutes from downtown Eugene. For more details, call us today or go to shadowhillsevents.com.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union, onpointcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
We're back inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack. We've got part 2 of Coach Lombardi's conversation with us coming your way tomorrow, because we talked with her for about another 8 minutes about what to expect when they travel to Puerto Vallarta. Actually, tomorrow, very early in the morning, is when they're heading down there. Meanwhile, Oregon baseball, we are 10 days away from opening day. Ducks continue their practice, and they've also got a number of scrimmages still on the schedule, and we'll talk with Coach Wazikowski coming up in the coming days. Now, earlier this fall, we caught up with Owen Diodati. He's a transfer student, left-handed power hitter, 24 career home runs, 88 RBI in 122 games, and he actually has a big-time knack for the big moment. He has 3 grand slams to his credit, and he had the walk-off home run on opening day last year. Seems like he gets up for the big moment, and he had some connections to Oregon baseball that helped bring him to play for the Ducks. Owen Diodati previewing baseball season, learning a little bit about him.
Owen, just why Oregon? Why did you decide to transfer here?
Yeah, I think the initial connection for me was Adam Meyer, who was here last year. I played with him a little bit for the junior national team in high school, and that's kind of how it got started for me. And going through the portal in the process, I think for me the biggest thing was I wanted to go somewhere with the right culture, and a knack for development. And it's been exactly that since I've been here. There's real development here, a real commitment from the coaches to making sure everyone gets better. And the team's been great, the culture's awesome, and I've been so impressed with everything so far. This is the best decision I've ever made.
That's a guy we didn't see perform as much as kind of we thought going into last year, but yet still, despite like his injury, he got enough of a positive impression about this program to really impart that upon you.
Yeah. He's been a guy I trust with his opinion. I know he'd shoot me straight and wouldn't lie to me, and that's something you look for in the process, because you never really know until you get there what a place is going to be like. And that was an advantage for me, that he could give me a straight up answer. And one thing that stood out to me here is, oftentimes you talk to guys at different schools about, do you like your coaches, things like that. And you get answers from guys who start, who say they love their coaches, and guys who don't play. And it's like, I'm not sure if I like my coach. But the one thing here that really stood out to me was that everyone seemed to like the coaching staff. The things they put out, the messages, the culture, and I've seen nothing but that since I've been here. So it's been amazing.
Where do you think that you've been improved upon the most since coming here, from fall ball up to now?
Yeah, I think a goal of mine was definitely to become a more complete hitter. I think something I have a goal for myself for all the time is to be a hitter with power rather than a power hitter. So coming here, the big thing was, let's limit the strikeouts. Let's hit for higher average. which I started working on this summer in the Cape. And obviously another big part that I think was awesome coming here was just improving on the defensive side of the ball. Waz has been great with that, helps the outfielders primarily. And, just the little things have helped me so much to really improve my defense.
What specifically have you tweaked to cut down on those strikeouts and be a hitter with power instead of a power hitter?
Yeah, I think it's an approach thing as much as anything. But other than that, just being more efficient with my swing, giving myself more time to see the ball. Maybe trying to hit the ball 380 feet instead of 450, just cutting down on the effort a little bit, and maybe being a little bit shorter and more compact. But I think approach is huge in doing that and just simplifying things for sure.
What's it like for you playing the outfield here at PK Park? It's smaller than it once was, but it's still pretty spacious out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it forces you to be really efficient with your first step. And, I have great guys, great teammates around me, teaching me the ins and outs. Colby Shade is one of the best outfielders I've ever seen. And, being able to be out there beside him every day is unbelievable. Picking his brain, asking him what he does on this certain ball, and honestly, just watching him, you learn. And, I think we get as many live reads and batting practice and things like that as anyone in the country. So just those game-like reads prepare me as well as anyone for playing in this ballpark.
Owen Diodati, one of the guys that figures to be a big contributor for Oregon baseball this season. I think the Ducks are really going to be able to hit. And as Coach Wazkowski talked about heading into the fall, they've got some competition at some different positions. You like to see that. They've also got competition on who's going to be in the weekend rotation. I think that's going to be a question mark heading into the season as the Ducks get ready to host Xavier, not this coming Friday, but next Friday. Meanwhile, the Oregon pit crew, they've been great at Matthew Knight Arena. It has been awesome seeing what the pit crew has done to change games for the Ducks. And, well, we had the man, I guess, behind the chain. Is that a good way to put it, Ethan? Or he's the man with the chain? Yeah, I like the man with the chain better. So Patty, who's in charge of the Oregon pit crew, was on earlier, and he had teased that there was maybe going to be a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Well, if you go to the Oregon pit crew social media channels, they're planning that 3v3 tournament right now. If you're a student, you're interested, head to the Oregon Pit Crew social media. You're going to see all the info that you want. Only open to current Oregon students. I'm not eligible with a uoregon.edu email. And the Pit Crew will see all of you at Matthew Knight Arena coming up on Thursday. Tomorrow, continuing our chat with Melyssa Lombardi, also Derek Radley, Oregon women's golf head coach. See you then.
The United States Deputy Sheriff's Association is a national nonprofit and the largest non-governmental provider of services to law enforcement. The USDSA assists city, county, state, and federal agencies with free safety equipment donations and officer survival training, along with cash donations to families of law enforcement officers who perish in the line of duty, college scholarships for the children of law enforcement, a citizen awareness program, and more. For more information on the USDSA and how